Hello everyone and welcome back to a special episode of Hallowed Be Thy Game, and today I wanted to share with you some quick tips and tricks for Metal Max Xeno Reborn. I've had a lot of fun with this game, but there are some things I wish I had known earlier that would have made my life a lot easier. And one of which is if you bring up the start menu and then head over to the map tab, and I'll go ahead and censor out some of these quest lines and stuff and locations. However, if you go down to the quest tab and then click over to the right once, this first tab will be your main quest scenarios. Go over one more time, and this is going to be quests that are mainly linked to filling out your party members. So these quests will usually always lead to something extremely beneficial to you, whether that be party members or just outfitting your power levels in a great way. Outside of that, on the far right tab, you will have a bunch of collecting quests, which I highly suggest always being aware of and working towards. So as you're out and collecting and fighting, just head back and you will be able to turn some of these in. In this tab that you will be able to get party members from, you will need some items to recruit or help some of these party members to be able to join you in your journey. I won't provide any spoilers, however, I do want to highly suggest to always save at least one revival capsule and then also a full tank drink. By the time you start meeting other party members, you will have unlocked the ability to purchase a lot of these items. However, in the beginning, I would save at least one revival capsule and then also full tank drink. And that will just ensure that you'll be able to recruit party members without having to go out and hunt them down like I did. Because honestly, you're not going to be needing to really utilize a lot of the revival items until you get much later in the game when you can purchase them. It's usually just best to head back to the base, resurrect everybody, and then quick travel back. But then also, I want to share that as you're going and upgrading, this can be a little confusing, so I want to cover this. Now, the Sortie counter is where you'll be going to kind of outfit and send out a lot, maybe switch whichever tank you want your party members to you, and then also you can go to the Sortie and then you can choose whether to leave now or in the morning. To be honest, I think I found that the main reason you would want to leave at different times or rest is to essentially maybe respawn things so you can go out and fight them. And then also the shop, here you can be able to buy items for tanks. The tank supplies is obviously going to be to outfit your tanks, but you can also buy items for the handheld section, weapons, and then also your defensive items. I would primarily focus more on the dog, Pochi, if I'm saying that correctly, making sure he's outfitted and strong because he is probably going to be the one who dies the most. But if you can outfit and make your dog stronger, then you are going to find a lot of the foot sections and then also the tank sections of the game to be a lot more manageable. And then also you can sell here. Things that are safe to sell at any point in time are going to be pure gold ingots. It even states that it's a lovely lump of gold. It'll sell for quite a pretty penny. And then there's essentially a platinum version of that, which just sells for more. Those are always safe to sell. Everything else could theoretically have a use, so I would not just say blindly sell those things. I have sold older tank equipments and such like that once I have far out progressed that. You're going to be either swimming money or you're going to be dirt poor in this game. But the far right section here, when you bring up the terminal and you go to the far right section, their garage, the weapon modification is going to essentially be taking existing items you have and then being able to upgrade them even further. So if you bring up, let's just say I picked up the 150 mm burst, I go to it, I can spend quite a chunk of change, but what it'll do is it'll increase its power, its durability, which we'll cover in a second, and then also its affinity damage and such like that. It's always best if you think you're going to be using a weapon for quite some time or you've just upgraded your weapons, if you have the ability to reinforce them, I would do so. I personally, as far as enhance and reduce weight, pretty much what this is going to be for, when you enhance something, that means it can take more damage before it breaks. However, it will increase your equip load or your weight counter. You can reduce this. I have had to monkey with this much later in the game when I was outfitting my final party members. I never really had to worry about this at all during a normal playthrough of the game until the very end. But essentially what it's going to be doing, your weight, let me just bring up my main tank here. If you look in the bottom right here, you'll see the total attack power, the defensive power, and the gross weight. Essentially, as long as you are in the blue for your weight and load capacity, you will be able to operate all things on your tank. If you surpass that, then you are definitely going to be in a situation where things aren't going to be working on your tank. Again, it's really something that you're not going to be facing until much later in the game. So to kind of explain to you how tanks work, in order to kind of talk about the nitty-gritty details of tanks, this is just a general rule I follow with my tanks. If you look here, you can see that I have an SP loadout of 6,186 out of 6,186. That is essentially the outer shell of my tank. Once that has been depleted, and a lot of times you're going to see your tank's health essentially say that it's 0, but you're still able to fight and tank, because you are always able to keep fighting on a tank until all your weapons are destroyed. Once that has been depleted, then you'll start seeing certain weapons on your loadout be targeted for damage. Right here I have a durability of 107, so once that outer shell is targeted, then we'll start seeing some of these weapons start to break. Maybe there'll be an AoE damage hit your tank, and you'll start seeing multiple things get destroyed at a time. That's essentially what's happening here. As long as you can drive a tank, and even if your outer shell is at 0 health, you can keep fighting. So that's just something I wanted to clear up. There are some little nitty-gritty details with weight and scaling, such that I still have yet to discover, but that is, to my knowledge, what is occurring here. Now, your engine is essentially what's going to be giving you a much larger load capacity and an outer shell endurance. Right here, I have the ability to equip 2 engines, which is something you'll unlock later in the game, and that is because of the W engine modifier on the trait chips. Essentially, once you do this, you can equip 2 engines, and what that's going to do is offer up a much wider load capacity so I can put heavier items, more effective items on my tank. I wanted to create a giant burst damage on my main character, so what I did is it took up 3 slots to be able to equip 2 engines here, because this is essentially one W engine chip modifier, but it eats up 3 slots on your chips. And then I went ahead and equipped Cannon Rush. This is a microchip that allows you to fire all equipped cannons at once. And then obviously Cannon Support, which improves the performance of your cannon weaponry. This essentially means that all 5 of these cannons are firing at once, and it is glorious. There's a whole bunch of different things you can do with your tank loadouts. There is not one right answer in this game, which is why I love it so much. Be sure to share your favorite tank loadouts down in the description for those who may be interested. And then here you can just choose how you want your tank to look in this paint section. Essentially what I wanted to do here is I created on Maria here, I went ahead and equipped her with a kind of hybrid tank and then also special weapon loadout. You can have some actually monstrous ones. And then for my third tank slot, who's usually my healer with Tony, I went ahead and equipped mostly machine guns and then some SP things, because these SP weapons are incredibly useful, but they are kind of niche. So pretty much what I do is once I have my Cannon Rush fully upgraded and such like that, I can go ahead and put Cannon Rush on other people or Machine Gun Rush, whatever it may be, to have much more success. And just kind of show you here, you can do the same with machine guns as well, with Machine Gun Rush, which will fire all machine guns you have equipped at a single time. Let me go ahead and show you what I have going on for my traits. Now for my traits, I went ahead and decided to mainly focus on tanks for my main characters, because I'm going to be honest, the final boss and most of the fights in this game are going to be done in your tanks, but there are some kind of tough sections that will happen on foot, but I personally felt they were towards the middle to later parts of the game. However, I went ahead and split to where I had Talus focus mainly on his tanks. One of the big things about Talus is that you will have the ability to have Nep Tech, and this utilizes his metallic left arm. This is something that you will be able to unlock the ability to power scale it later in the game. I'm going to say about halfway to 2/3 of the way through the game. You'll have the ability to hunt down certain monsters that will drop essentially upgrade points for this specifically. They're really easy to take on. I didn't find it to be difficult at all. But this is essentially what will make his left arm cannon that much more incredible. It's a very cool mechanic and extremely useful. I would not ignore this once you unlock the ability to do that from a quest line. Also, what I personally did to help make my life a lot easier is I went ahead and had Tony focus primarily on medical. She is an incredible healer, and one of the big reasons for that is fierce recovery and then also group doping. The ability to use an item to heal everyone at once. This is genuinely extremely useful. There are limited time uses here, and you can even see I didn't even have to go that far into it to have some massive benefits. And then she does have the ability to essentially do a battle resurrection of your party members. This is extremely useful. Tony is an incredible healer, and I found her to be one of the most clutch members of the entire team. But that is not to outdo Pochi, who is, in my opinion, the best member of the entire team. You can teach him tricks later in the game. However, I want to primarily say focus on Pochi's survivability. His survival instinct, get his vitality up, and then his ability for dog aid. This is honestly probably the best heal in the game. His AI is extremely useful in being able to know when to use the heal. He will heal your party members as well. Pochi is phenomenal. He is absolutely worth investing gear into. He may die a lot in the beginning, but I'm going to be honest, once you kind of get him over the initial glass cannon hump that he has, he is probably going to be the most useful character in the game. Now, as you go throughout the game, you will have the option to eventually buy a metal detector. It's a lot of money. You can buy it. I did. However, you will find one if you are thorough in picking up treasure chests, but it will be a little later, about halfway through the game when you do. Once you do, you will have the ability to unlock scrap nodes in the game to be able to pick up these items of scrap. They are extremely useful for being able to craft and make things in the game. It is absolutely in your best interest to pick those up. And then also you can unlock the ability to dig with Pochi. He will randomly pick up things from fights and around the world that are very useful as well. He can pick up some extremely helpful items and upgrades that you can use. Speaking of which, there are items such as hit implants that will give permanent stat boosts, so definitely be on the lookout for those items. Don't let them sit in your inventory forever like I did. Anyways, I hope this tips and tricks helped you. If you have any questions about this game, please let me know down in the comments. If I don't know the answer, maybe someone in the community will. But if you find any helpful tips along the way, please be sure to come back and share those. I thank you all so much for watching. Thanks for liking and subscribing, and have fun out there in the wasteland.